Good morning, and welcome to Sunday worship at First Parish in Concord. My name is Bojena Smith. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm honored to serve on the governing board. First Parish is a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and love is at the center of all we strive to do and all we aspire to be. Welcome to all joining us both in our sanctuary and on Zoom. If you're visiting or new to the congregation and need assistance during the service, please chat with your online Zoom host or see one of our ushers at the rear of the sanctuary. Immediately after the service, you're invited to stay for coffee hour in the parish hall, where members of the welcoming and membership team will be available to answer questions and help you get connected. As your governing board rep for the morning, I'll be available for questions and conversation. Please come say hello. First Parish is a lively congregation with many ways to get involved. Please check out the bulletin inserted in the order of service for upcoming opportunities. I do want to highlight one event happening today. After worship service today, newcomers are invited to join Reverend Jenna and members of the welcoming and membership team at 11:30 in the parlor for a chance to learn more about what membership means here at First Parish, with an option to sign the membership book at the end. Welcome once again. To gather in worship is a sacred act, and your presence among us is a blessing. We are glad and grateful that you are here.
My name is Reverend Jenna Crawford. I use she and her pronouns, and I'm delighted to serve as your minister of congregational care. The flaming chalice is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith tradition. As Bojena kindles our chalice this morning, will you join me in reading our unison chalice lighting words as on the screen? O light of life, be kindled again in our hearts as we meet together this morning to celebrate the joy of human community, seeking a wholeness that extends beyond ourselves. From our very first breath, we reach out. Co-regulation, not self-regulation, is in our nature. We find our cues from the sun and the moon. From each parent and caregiver, we find our place in this great turning planet by turning to one another. Generation to generation, we awaken to the dawn and fall asleep at the evening's end. Our life's journey is part of something greater, something simple, something divine. A flame cannot be lit without a spark. A life cannot begin without the air, and we cannot begin to find ourselves without love. May we reach out to one another. May we offer love and nurturing care. May we join together in celebration of the interdependence of our lives. And in this spirit, let us worship together. Words by genderqueer Euro-American UU minister Reverend Elizabeth Parish Brown to welcome us into this holy hour of worship. Our opening hymn this morning, coming to us from the tradition of African American spirituals, can be found at number 1024 in the Teal hymn books and is called When the Spirit Says Do. This one invites singing, dancing, and letting your body loose a little bit, so don't be shy. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join together in song.
You've got to do what the Spirit says do. You've got to do Spirit says do, 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 Spirit says do. You've got to sing. You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you've got to sing, oh Lord. You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. Spirit says sing, 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 Spirit says sing. You've got to dance. You've got to dance when the Spirit says dance. You've got to dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you've got to dance, oh Lord. You've got to dance when the Spirit says dance. 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 Spirit says. Now we get to laugh. Hurrah. You've got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. Laugh when the Spirit says laugh. 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 You got to shout. Shout when the Spirit says shout. You've got to shout when the Spirit says shout. When the Spirit says shout, you got to shout, oh Lord. You got to shout when the Spirit says shout. 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 You got to do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do, oh Lord. You got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 Spirit says do.
That was a fun way to start. I'd like to invite our young people forward to the first couple pews for this morning's Time for All Ages. And as they are coming down, I want to remind parents and caregivers of young children that childcare is available today in the Mildam Nursery School space on the lower level. You may bring your child there now or at any time during the service.
Hello, I'm Susan Ellsworth, and I'm so happy to be here to help give Reverend Jenna's message to you today. One of the principles of our Unitarian Universalist tradition is a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Do come. You can come
can sit on the bench, or you can sit on the floor if you like. This means we're always encouraged to be curious about what we think we know. And we're encouraged, as you use, to practice the discipline of wonder. This is a wonder box. I haven't told anyone what's inside it. Anyone have any guesses about what I put inside the wonder box today? That guess was a little fox. That would have been fun, but I think it would be moving if there's a little fox inside. Anybody have another guess? That would be wonder. Is this a real one? Help you. Someone want to come up and open the box for us? How about you? Oh, just in time. Go ahead. What do you see inside the wonder box? You can take them out. There are a few things in there. Let's see, we have a few different objects. A chalice, and a candle, a sponge, and a wrench. I thought somebody would say SpongeBob, but it's not SpongeBob. Of these four, which of these jump out to you as spiritual objects? Anybody have any idea? Does anybody else want to? What? Sorry? Yep, the chalice. Anything else? And the sponge, perhaps, and the candle that goes in the chalice. Well, here's the chalice with the candle. In today's service, we'll explore how some objects, like candles and chalices, are viewed as spiritual, where other objects are seen as secular. Now, secular is a fancy word that means non-religious. So supposedly there are sacred spaces and secular spaces, sacred objects and secular objects, sacred activities and secular activities. In today's service, we're going to challenge that a little bit. Who gets to decide what is sacred? Maybe the spiritual can be found in everyday objects and activities. Why is there a sponge? Well, Thich Nhat Hanh, a well-known Buddhist monk and teacher, often said that washing dishes can be a form of meditation, a way to connect to the holy. And here's a wrench. The wrench is a tool that can be used to loosen bolts. Later this morning, Reverend Jenna will share about a semi-spiritual experience she once had while changing a tire. Maybe the key to normal objects becoming sacred objects is our mindful presence and the intention that we bring them. So this week, while you're going about your day-to-day activities, I invite you to approach the things you use and interact with all the time as if they were sacred objects, like a chalice. Please let Reverend Jenna know if, when you did, anything changed. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Today, while Amy, Dawn, and a wonderful team from First Parish are participating in the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute's Mother's Day Walk for Peace, we are grateful to have 4 dads volunteering in religious exploration. Children and youth are invited to free play on Mother's Day, and Tom, Ed, and Jim will bring you out back to play. Please follow them out to the terrace, and parents, you can meet them outdoors following the end of the service. Let's sing them on their way.
Thank
Will you join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation as we begin with words from Jewish UU minister Reverend Leah Ongiri? On Mother's Day, let us mark how beautiful and complex it can be to mother and be mothered. To those who have mothered, we thank you. To those who rejoice in the work, the role, the presence of mothering and mothers, we celebrate with you. To those who are in the thick of parenting children of any age, we appreciate you. To those who experience loss through infertility, abortion, miscarriage, adoption, or running away, we mourn with you. To those who have lost their mothers, we grieve with you. To those who have endured abuse at the hands of mothers, we acknowledge you. To those who experience pain at the marking of this day, we witness you. To those who are single moms, grandmoms, stepmoms, foster moms, adoptive moms, mentor moms, and spiritual moms, we need you. And to those who are pregnant with new life, both expected and surprising, we anticipate with you. Let's take a deep, centering breath for the multitudes that this day may hold for many of us, some of them named and some of them still yet unnamed. While no parish concerns were submitted in advance this week, every Sunday we come together to name some of these multitudes within and without that we hold on our hearts. As you feel moved, you're invited to type into the chat box or to share aloud quietly from the pews the prayers and the people that you are carrying today with you on your heart. And let us end with a moment of loving silence for all that has been shared and for those prayers that even still remain in the quiet corners of our hearts. Amen.
I am here. I am now. I accept. I allow. I
Good morning. I'm Leah Reisner, and I'm happy to be introducing the offering this morning. Generosity is a spiritual practice in our Unitarian Universalist faith tradition. Each month, we share the collection plate with an organization whose work in the world reflects and amplifies our UU values. For the month of May, we will be sharing the proceeds from the offering collection with an organization out of Wichita, Kansas called Trust Women. Trust Women is dedicated to improving access to reproductive and sexual health care to regions where it is limited, ensuring that everyone, regardless of ability to pay, can receive care without shame or stigma. Additionally, they offer gender-affirming care and medication-assisted treatment for substance use disorders. At one point in their history, Trust Women was the only clinic of its kind, offering the range of services it does within a 200-mile radius. Today, people continue to come from hundreds of miles away and across state lines to access its services. We hope that you will donate as generously as you can to this morning's offering collection to support our vibrant ministries here and the vital work that Trust Women is engaged in out in the world. The offering collection will now be generously given and gratefully received. Our reading this morning is by the modern rabbi and theologian Danya Rutenberg, and it comes from the book Nurture the Wow, Finding Spirituality in the Frustration, Boredom, Tears, Poop, Desperation, Wonder, and Radical Amazement of Parenting. Somewhere in my first year or two of parenthood, it dawned on me, through the haze of fatigue, laundry, diapers, and tantrums, Yonatan's, my son's, and mine both, that I actually had access to a treasure trove of wisdom from the Jewish tradition that could help me do the exhausting, frustrating, challenging work of loving and raising my kid. It took me a while to realize it, though, because how I was changing as a mom seemed to be taking me away from my tradition's ideas about what spiritual practice is supposed to be. And yet, when I looked more closely, I realized that the Jewish tradition, as well as other religious traditions that I'd studied, can actually illuminate the work of parenting, the love, the drudgery, the exasperation, all of it. This fact isn't necessarily intuitive, though, because, let's face it, For thousands of years, books on Jewish law and lore were written by men, mostly talking to other men. These guys were, by and large, not engaged in the intimate care of small children. Somewhere else, far from the house of study, other people, women, mothers, were wrangling tantrumy toddlers and explaining to 6-year-olds that they really did have to eat what was on their plate. At least, I assume that was what was happening. Again, for most of history, the people who were raising children weren't writing books, so we don't totally know. This means that a lot of the dazzling ideas found in our sacred texts about how to be a person, how to fully experience awe and wonder, how to navigate hard, painful feelings, how service to others fits into the larger, transcendent picture, was never really explicitly connected to the work of parenting. So this book is about that. It's written around these 3 questions. What can religious and spiritual traditions teach parents? What can parents teach religious and spiritual traditions? And how is parenting a spiritual practice in its own right? Here ends our reading.
Countless stories from the world's religious traditions tell of their saints and their leaders making long, treacherous journeys into the wilderness of some sort to achieve spiritual awakening. In the Hebrew and Christian scriptures, Moses journeys all the way to the top of Mount Sinai and stays there for 40 days and 40 nights before receiving the famous 10 Commandments. In the Hindu tradition, the sacred Mount Kailash is said to be the dwelling place of one of their foremost gods, Lord Shiva. The summit of that same mountain is holy in the Jain tradition, but for them, because it is where their first leader, Risha Bhadeva, attained liberation. From our own tradition and in our own backyard, Henry David Thoreau withdrew from civilization for 2 years to go to Walden Pond to live deliberately and front only the essential facts of life. Sacred texts are littered with these kinds of references from the Red Sea to Bodh Gaya to the Ganga River and the Arabian Desert. It is no wonder why so many of us, just as Rabbi Danya Rutenberg described in the reading, have a sinking feeling when our lives become busy or cluttered with worldly obligations, whether that's because we're a parent or caregiver or have taken on a time-consuming job or are managing a chronic illness, etc. It is no wonder that so many of us begin to worry if we will ever be able to really connect with God or Spirit. It is no wonder when the holy figures across the ages have time and again renounced material obligations and worldly pleasures and have essentially, one by one, headed for the hills. This fact, along with the fact that so many of these scriptural stories were recorded by folks, mainly men, who were not the primary caregivers in the household, gives the impression that spirituality is what happens on mountaintops and deserts, where it's tranquil and spacious, and only once we're able to transcend our human issues. Or perhaps even worse, in some traditions, women are told that their greatest spiritual fulfillment should come from caring for the home and the children, but then aren't left with any roadmap as to where to find spirituality in the doing. So I was curious, with the help of Rabbi Danya and a few other theologians, because I myself am not a parent, but many of these folks are, I was curious if we could construct an alternate story. I was curious what it would look like to explore a spirituality of the mess, the noise, the laundry, the Play-Doh. To this end, the American Tibetan Buddhist nun Pema Chodron once wrote, "Spiritual awakening is frequently described as a journey to the top of a mountain. We leave our attachments and our worldliness behind and slowly make our way to the top. At the peak, we have transcended all pain. But in the process of discovering bodhicitta in the Buddhist tradition, the awakened and noble heart, the journey goes down, not up. Instead of transcending the suffering of all creatures, we move toward the turbulence and the doubt. We explore the reality and unpredictability of insecurity and pain, and we try not to push it away." When I led backpacking trips before going back to seminary, there was one memorable day when just about everything went wrong. It was my very first day as the lead trip leader of a group of 20 middle schoolers. We got to our trailhead in the Columbine Hondo wilderness of northern New Mexico after driving up 5 miles of windy mountain roads. In our minds, we were to be greeted by wildflowers and the wafting smell of ponderosa pine, but what greeted us instead was a nervous-looking forest ranger. The ranger approached me and my colleagues and said we had 48 hours to evacuate the wilderness area. Forest fires were headed our way, and they were closing down all the trails within a 20-mile radius. This was a major blow. According to our itinerary, which I had carefully planned, we were supposed to spend the next 14 days in a wilderness area that was now closing down. Within a few hours of that first blow, we started to notice that the kids weren't doing so well. The first complained about a headache. The second said they were completely exhausted and needed to lie down. And then in pairs, our trekkers began throwing up. We realized only then that we had not built in enough time for the kids from out of state to acclimatize to the altitude. So off I went to our van to grab the med kits, our van that seemed to be slumping curiously toward one side. After taking a closer look, the back left tire was completely flat. I can't say that what followed was us wisely trying to make friends with chaos and uncertainty. Mostly it was us as a staff team trying to keep it together in front of the kids. But from there, we decided to turn changing the tire into a game. We invited the kids who had never seen a tire changed to circle round the van. We took pictures to document every step, and we sang songs when our energy began to wane. And then at campfire that night, for the kids who were not too sick to participate, we asked not what the highlight of the day was, but one simple question: what gets you through hard times? For whatever karmic reason that day, it was not in the cards for us to journey up the metaphorical mountain. No matter what we did, everything seemed to be going wrong, and there was no transcending it by intellect or might. Actually, quite literally, it was not safe to keep journeying up the mountain. The ranger had made that very clear. So we journeyed down instead, deeper into the chaos and the messiness, hoping we might find some kind of spiritual lesson the closer that we got to solid ground. In other words, to the truth of things as they were, not as we wanted them to be. While Rabbi Danya's work on this subject is specifically about parenting, Pema Chodron's is not. And so for someone who is aging, for example, or experiencing changes to the way your body works, the spiritual journey down the mountain, according to Pema, might involve a practice of turning our attention toward the discomfort of our body's changes when possible, and when safe. She talks about how we don't have to wait for the hard stuff to pass to have a spiritual experience. We can use our indigestion or our arthritic joint pain as the basis of our next meditation. In fact, she writes, to stay with that shakiness, to stay with a broken heart, with a rumbling stomach, with the feeling of hopelessness and wanting to get revenge, that is the path of true awakening. Sticking with that uncertainty, getting the knack of relaxing in the midst of chaos, learning not to panic. This is the spiritual path. For perfectionists, journeying down the metaphorical mountain might mean making better friends with imperfections and flaws and the things that take longer than you accounted for. And for a parent, the journey down the mountain might mean finding alternatives to some of the dominant notions of spirituality: quiet, calm, still, spacious, within the busy and sometimes unrelenting nature of parenting. For instance, the Euro-American Christian writer named Jamie Wright talks about how instead of quiet time, when she became a parent, she made sure to have her daily loud time, intentionally listening for God's voice in the wilderness and at the water park and under McDonald's indoor play structure, because God, she wrote, had been faithful to meet me in the chaos. Rabbi Danya, too, has been a parent for too long to buy into the notion that parents can simply meditate while washing the dishes or feeding the kid, because most of the time, she insists, you're doing at least both of those things at once. But, she writes, if you're loading the dishwasher and feeding the baby in her high chair, you can try to get yourself in moments, here and there, when you can, fully doing those things. Those 10 seconds that you run the cup under the faucet before putting it in the dishwasher. Look at the faucet, feel the cup, be aware of the action of putting the cup in the dishwasher rack. And then a moment later, when you turn back to the child, you can put as much of yourself as possible into attending to them. End quote. The idea is not to put yet another expectation on parents, but simply to say that if the traditional notion of spirituality is not working within the configuration of your life, there might be ways to flip the script. I like the metaphor of climbing down a mountain because it's no less revealing than climbing up a mountain. If you've ever hiked or gondolaed or driven down a mountain, you might remember that as you descended, things that looked fuzzy from up at the top start coming into clearer and clearer view. At the top of the mountain, people look like ants, and as you get closer, you can make out the color of their clothes, the shape of their bodies, and even, sometimes, their facial expressions. Journeying down the mountain in the spiritual sense is like this too. It's about presence, being fully where you are and climbing down and deeper down still into the layers of experience we most often miss in our rushing. So, dear ones, in this world in which for many of us, more of our time is spent with dishes and bills and car problems and picking up the prescription and, of course, always laundry, than with candles and quiet and mountaintop views, how can we understand spirituality differently? When we aren't able to transcend the objects and noises and aches and obligations of our human nature, how can we climb deeper down into the experiences we are, in fact, having? And where it is possible, how and where ought we keep climbing upward? How and where can we advocate for more affordable childcare and paid parental leave and higher quality elder care and more social programs and a wider safety net along with class and racial justice, so that double tasking doesn't become 100 tasking, so that the people doing the holy work of child and elder care are paid sustainable wages, and so that everyone can be a little closer to thriving, wherever they find themselves on life's many mountains. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. As we wind down our worship service this morning, take these words by the Euro-American poet named Mark Nepo with you as a parting thought. The further I wake into this life, the more I realize that God is everywhere, and the extraordinary is waiting quietly beneath the skin of all that is ordinary. Light is in both the broken bottle and the diamond, and music is in both the flowing violin and the water dripping from the drainage pipe. Yes, God is under the porch as well as on top of the mountain, and joy is in both the front row and the bleachers if we are willing to be where we are. Our closing hymn can be found at number 128 in the gray hymn books, For All That Is Our Life. Please now rise in body or spirit and join in song. Please now join me in giving and receiving the traditional benediction of this congregation. Go out into the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings. Please now be seated to enjoy the postlude.